Jessii Vee, and in today's video we're going to be talking about sunglasses because yes, we talk about everything on this channel. This video actually has everything to do with your eyes. So the first story I'm telling you is about sunglasses and the second one is about creepy contact lenses. So if you wear either of those things on a daily basis, watch out. Before we get into it though, I just want to mention again that I have made a bunch of new colorful gummy bear charm bracelets. I'm actually wearing an orange one this time to go with my orange shirt, but I've made them in like every single color, so if you guys would like one, I've linked it down below. And yeah, thank you once again for all the support you give me with my jewelry. I love making jewelry and you guys are so supportive, so thank you so much. I love you. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the very first story about sunglasses. This is just called Sunglasses. This is about a girl that lived in a quaint little neighborhood in Pennsylvania. One day back in 2007, an old man moved in just down the street from her. Now, she found it odd that he would just buy a house all by himself. She never saw him with any other family or a wife, it was just him. On the third day of him moving in, her parents walked over with a plate of cookies to welcome him to the neighborhood. When they got back, they said he was a little bit strange, and he didn't really say more than just a couple words to them. Her father said that when he opened the door, the man was wearing dark sunglasses inside of the house, which was a little bit odd. The girl's first thought was that maybe he was blind, but her father said that couldn't have been the case because before they left, the old man reached over to him and swatted off a fly on his shoulder. Now, for the next few months, the girl paid close attention to this old man's odd behaviors. Every morning he would leave his house and would walk over to the park, and then he would just stare at random objects for hours, like a sign, a tree, someone's house, and then eventually he would sit on a bench and fall asleep. There was actually a few occasions when he stood at the bottom of her driveway just looking up at their house, always wearing those dark sunglasses. Literally wherever he went, it didn't matter if it was a stormy day, nighttime, cloudy, he would always be wearing them, no matter what. So she told her parents one day that this old man would just stare at things all day long, but they told her to just ignore it and to mind her business. But she just had this really bad feeling and hated that she was never able to see his eyes. She would even have nightmares about him where she would see his face and he would slowly pull down his glasses to reveal these evil, dark, black eyes. Well, one day she decided to follow him to the park, but she kept a good distance away from him so he wouldn't spot her. She watched as he stood and stared at a water fountain for 40 minutes straight, but then suddenly he turned around right in the direction of the girl. He paused for a moment, and then he creepily waved at her. Her heart sunk because now he knew that she was following him, and she was a little bit embarrassed about it. But instead of confronting her, he walked over to a bench and fell asleep. Now, she had an idea, and she knew it was a bad one, but she couldn't help herself. She was just too curious. She slowly walked up to where he was sitting and waved her hand in front of his face to make sure he was sleeping. There was no movement, so she reached over and grabbed his glasses and slowly began pulling them down off of his face. Now, what she saw will haunt her for the rest of her life, where she thought she would finally see the mysterious eyes of this old man that had been staring at her house for a few months straight. She instead saw two hollow, empty eye sockets, and that's how the story ends. So he never had eyes. In a way, I do feel bad for this man because he's just living his life. You know, he's going for walks, he's hanging out in the park, falling asleep on benches, like he's doing his thing. But I can see how it would be creepy if he was staring at her house all of the time. Staring. He doesn't really have any eyes, so I don't know how that would work. Anyways though, I thought that was a really creepy story and had to tell you guys. I'm assuming it was a creepypasta. I hope so. Alright, the next story is about contact lenses. It's about this guy who knew that his vision was getting really, really bad, so he decided to go and see his optometrist. When he asked his doctor about ordering some new contact lenses, his doctor gave him a very strange proposal. The doctor explained to him that this new company sent him an experimental set of contacts, and he needed a patient to test them out on. What's interesting about these new contacts is that they auto-adjust to the person wearing them, so no prescription is required. Anyone just puts them on and they literally adjust to what your eyes need, which is insane. So the man obviously thought this concept was incredible and was very happy to be the new guinea pig to try them out. The optometrist quickly left the room with a grin and returned a few minutes later with a small box in one hand, and he was holding a piece of paper in the other. The man had to sign a waiver to proceed. Now, just before the man left the office with the contact lenses, the doctor told him to make sure he checks in a few days later so he could tell the doctor how they're working for him. And the doctor also handed him a few pieces of paper that were folded and stapled together, and he said,
"I'm supposed to give you these. They are instructions for the contacts."
The man went home and was easily able to put both contacts in within a span of 30 seconds. And at first, it seems like they didn't really work. His vision was just as blurry as it always was. But after blinking a couple times, it started to become clearer and clearer. And then suddenly, his vision was perfect. Now, his first day wearing these contacts was incredible. His vision was 20/20. But there was something that did keep bugging him. You know that feeling you get when you see something from the corner of your eye, but when you turn to look, there's nothing there? This is a feeling that he was getting all day long. But other than that, he was totally fine and he loved the new contact lenses. Then one day he went to go grab some food, and when he was driving back home, he never took his eyes off the road, not even for a quick text. But a few blocks from his house, he blinked, and in the time it took for that single blink to occur, there was now a man standing in front of his car on the road. So obviously he quickly slammed on the brakes. The thing is, he wasn't even sure if he could call it a man. It was an incredibly tall thing, at least 7 or 8 feet tall, but it was hunched over on the road like Gollum. And if you guys don't know, this is what Gollum looks like. It was just extremely slender, as if it was malnourished. Its skin was pale, almost like extremely white, and its head was turned to the side as if it was trying to look closely at him. But once he blinked, this creature thing man was gone. Then the next day he was sitting in his living room watching TV when he let out a yawn and closed his eyes in the process. And when he opened his eyes, there was another figure in front of him. This one was short, probably about 4 feet tall, but it too was just hunched over with that same slender, pale body. He immediately closed his eyes in fear, and when he gathered the courage to open them again, the figure was gone. At this point, he was freaking out, but then he remembered that he never looked at the instruction sheet that the doctor gave him. He was just so eager to put on these contacts, he never read it. So he grabbed the instructions, and this is what it said. Number 1, if you begin to see figures, simply ignore them and blink once. They should disappear. Number 2, if a figure appears in front of you, do not look at its face. And number 3, under no circumstances should you wear the contact lenses for more than 24 hours at a time. And then at the very bottom it said, should you break any of these guidelines, we bear no responsibility for any trauma you may suffer, as outlined in the waiver you signed beforehand. So everything he signed said that they take no responsibility for anything that happens to him. This is why you properly read waivers, guys, and you read instructions, okay? Anyways though, that's the end of the story. I was so creeped out by both of these stories. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm glad I don't wear contacts, but if you do, I'm sure you're fine. Anyways, look guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, if you would like one of the new colorful gummy bear bracelets, I've linked it down below. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!